Hello, I'm host Eric, host of Talking with Famous People, and I'm here today to talk about dictating the narrative, a little thing that I also like to call time magic. Alright, I don't have a whole lot of time to discuss this because I have to go to work in a little while. In about 10 minutes, 15 minutes, I gotta leave for work. And I'm not dressed, so I'm gonna put on some clothes. Should take a shower. Yeah, who knows? Anyway, I better hurry. So, time magic, what does it mean? It means dictating the narrative. It means causing reality to reflect the narrative you want it to reflect. And I will talk to you specifically and with some examples that will help to understand this. In my own experience, I had to engage in a whole lot of time magic in general in the aftermath of getting fired from my job. Um, and in the process of getting fired from my job as well. And I didn't know what I was doing at all. I never usually historically have, although I'm starting to think about it more actively. And at this point, I'm feeling like I have to express it openly, or I start to face some moral challenges. I don't want to be intentionally manipulative. I think I've been quite manipulative my whole life, but if I'm going to do it, I want it to be intentional. And I want it to be, justified by the circumstances. So, time magic is the way in which you can use superior arguments, rhetoric, reasoning, appeals to shape not just other people's behavior, but their beliefs. And if you shape enough beliefs, then the world changes in order to reflect those beliefs as the default. And we can see how that happens on a grand scale with something like marijuana legalization or gay marriage. That the better ideas win. Now that's on a grand scale, so it doesn't seem much magical about it when it's on a grand scale. But if you apply the same principle to your own personal life, you'll discover that you can, in general, affect the realities you want to affect. And it's all about using language. So, one key is to remember what not to do. If there is magic to be done, as best as possible, make it about your opponent, not you. Make it about your opponent's case. Make it about your opponent's character, if that's an issue. Make it about your opponent's behavior and their preferable options, and about the importance of being accountable. So, number one is make it about your opponent. Number two is frame it in broad terms. So, you're going to say, this is important that we all be accountable. I'm accountable for this, and give examples. This is where you have to be accountable as well. You have to say, look, I screwed up here, and I'm going to be accountable because I'm going to do this, and I'm going to say this, and yada, yada, yada. Set the bar high. Make it about ethics. Make it about doing the right thing. Make it about fundamental principles. Be a principlist. And establish those grounds right away. Frame everything through those grounds. If you have a legitimate fight on your hands, I'm talking about a real war, not like just an internet battle or something. If you got a war like I had, where somebody was trying to fuck you, then all's fair in love and war. Anyway, you have to frame it so that you maintain the moral high ground. So, number one, make it about them. Number two, frame it. Number three, to the extent that it is about you, make it about you demonstrating the behaviors that ought to be done instead of about what happened to you specifically. Isolate her behaviors from you. So, or their behaviors, whatever it is. If somebody's engaged in battle with you in a way that you think means this isn't fun battle, this is warfare, then you need to make sure that you not worry about what happened to you, but what her actions were compared to a principle or an alternative of what actions ought to be, rather than evaluating them on impacts to you. All right, so those are three key factors in going to a big war in terms of dictating the narrative. The fourth is going to be how you dictate it, how you disseminate the information, and in what contexts, and all that sort of stuff. So one of the key things is persistence. Another key to this is scatter. And another key to this is variation on a theme. So, number one, let's do scatter first. First of all, it's important to scatter your meme, whatever it might be that you're trying to establish, widely. So that means you want to talk to everybody you know about it, but the thing is, you always, well, I'll get to the delivery thing, in a second, but make sure you speak with everybody you know about it, at least a little bit, everybody who's related to the individual who's your opponent a little bit, and put it up on your social media, put it up everywhere you can a little bit, and that's where the delivery thing comes in. You don't want to sound like a crazy person. Therefore you need to frame why you're having to continue to talk about this. And if in fact you were subject to some sort of wrongdoing, then you have to frame it as you have a moral obligation for the social good. That, look, it's not a big deal that it happened to me, whatever. I'm fine. I'm not hurt. I'm not looking for any help or anything like that. What I'm saying is, the problem heretofore has been no person has taken on the mantle to stand up to this individual and say no more for your bad behavior. Remember, you've already framed this thing in terms of their behavior being bad, and in terms of them being a person who's, in some sense, either unhealthy is probably the best way to go, and who is causing damage by expressing that unhealthiness upon other people. And frame it like this, and then stick to that fucking framework. Don't start going, and I was really sad when me. Who cares what happened to you? So yeah, stick to that framework. Frame it as a moral issue like that. And then you've got a framework in place that can both explain why you have to keep talking about it occasionally. 2, how it is that you can claim that you were talking about it, but aren't actually still mad about it or feeling emotional about it. Because remember, you have to present all these things in very dry and flat terms, or else people will think you're just venting and just being emotional. Now, you're not going to completely fool anybody no matter how you present it. So it's a good idea to sort of do some strategic concession there and be like, boy, I tell you, when I see something like that, it reminds me of Jodhpur. I'll admit it, I get a little peeved. But then I look around and remember, oh yeah, I'm the lucky one. He's the one who has to carry the burden of, and then talk about his wrongdoing again, right? I think, a little last technique here for this first introduction in terms of time magic, and I'll go into much more depth in further videos about how you use this on yourself and other people to affect change that's positive, and the risks of messing around with gray or black magic, okay? Especially if you're a white magician like me, who attempts to be entirely transparent and true and honest, even as he's casting his spells. Then what I want to warn you about is evil doing will backfire on you. It'll blow up in your face. So don't try it. Lacey, be quiet, please. Lacey, meow. Meow, I said. Did you hear me say meow? Did you? Because I said it. Mm-hmm. I've got her snout in my hand. Gently, of course. I love my little dog. Would never do anything to harm my little dog. She's a wonderful, wonderful friend. 4:44. I have to go to work. Yeah. I love work, but I don't like the 3-minute commute. I better go. Will you stop? Will you? Thanks for watching my video.